The small coastal town of Portsworth was a haven of tranquility, where ocean waves crashed gently against the rocks and pastel-painted wooden houses lined the promenade. The smell of sea salt mixed with the aroma of fresh fish coming from the local market, creating an atmosphere of simplicity and peace. However, for Dr. Noah, that tranquility was just a facade for the turmoil he carried within himself. After another exhausting day at the hospital, Noah walked slowly through the streets, hands in his coat pockets as the sun set over the horizon. Each step was heavy, not because of physical exhaustion, but because of the silent pain I had carried for years. The disappearance of his brother, James, was an open wound that had never healed. The war had taken many things from many people, but for Noah, it had taken the person he loved most in the world. Noah decided he needed to get home as quickly as possible, as if the solitude of his small apartment could provide any kind of solace. He raised his hand to hail a passing taxi. The vehicle stopped next to him, and Noah got into the back seat without paying much attention to the driver. As the taxi advanced through the streets, Noah instinctively looked ahead, and it was then that something caught his attention. A metallic shine reflected the sunlight that came through the window. It was a ring on the taxi driver's hand, a ring that immediately awakened a deep and painful memory. Noah felt a chill run down his spine. That ring, it looked exactly like the one his brother James wore. A silver ring with a blue stone, something that had been a family gift, passed down from generation to generation. "Nice ring," Noah said, trying to keep his voice steady. The taxi driver glanced briefly in the rearview mirror, smiling politely. "Thanks. I got it from a friend I haven't seen in a while." The taxi driver's response made Noah's heart beat faster. It was impossible for it to be the same ring, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. A growing anxiety took over his mind. "Do you know where he comes from?" Noah asked, trying to keep the conversation casual, but without success. The taxi driver hesitated for a moment before responding, the smile on his lips disappearing. In fact, it belonged to a soldier who disappeared in the war. His name was James. Noah's world seemed to spin out of control. That name, it was as if he had been struck by a sudden blow. Memories of his brother came flooding back, along with an avalanche of emotions he tried to keep buried. Did you meet him?" Noah's voice trembled, filled with hope and fear. The taxi driver did not respond immediately. He remained silent, his gaze fixed on the road ahead. When he finally spoke, his voice was filled with a gravity that Noah hadn't expected. "Yes, I did. He was a good man. He and I were on a mission together when things took an unexpected turn. James, he had a vision that took him to a place we never should have gone." Noah felt the weight of the taxi driver's words. A mission? A vision? None of this made sense. James had never talked about visions or anything like that. He was a practical man, focused on his goals. But what the taxi driver was saying made Noah realize that there was a lot about what happened to his brother that he didn't know. Where is he now? What happened to him? The questions came from Noah almost in a whisper, as if he feared the answer. "He disappeared," said the taxi driver, in a dark voice. "On that mission, we went to a place we shouldn't have gone. There were rumors about an ancient fortress, a place where the secrets of war were kept. They say that those who went there never came back. James, he believed he could unmask the truth." Noah felt a shiver run through his body. His brother had always been driven by a strong sense of justice, but this was something far beyond what Noah could imagine. An ancient fortress? Secrets of war? It looked like something out of a nightmare, but the seriousness in the taxi driver's eyes showed he was telling the truth. I need to know more," Noah said, his voice filled with a determination he hadn't felt in a long time. "Can you take me there?" The taxi driver looked at Noah in the rearview mirror, and for a moment, it looked like he was going to refuse. But something in Noah's expression made him change his mind. "Very good, but you need to be prepared for what you might encounter." Noah nodded, heart pounding in his chest. He knew this journey could reveal truths he never imagined, but he was determined to move forward no matter what. And so, they set out, leaving behind the safety of familiar streets and entering a path full of darkness and buried secrets. Noah's search for answers had begun, and he was about to discover that some truths can be more terrifying than any nightmare. The road to the fortress was long and winding, cutting through dense forests and mist-covered hills. As they moved further away from the city, the streetlights became fewer and fewer until they disappeared completely. Now the only brightness came from the taxi's headlights, which illuminated the narrow path ahead. Noah was silent, his thoughts buzzing with unanswered questions. The taxi driver, whose name he still didn't know, drove with silent concentration, his eyes fixed on the road. The air inside the car was tense, charged with the anticipation of what was to come. "Are we close?" Noah asked, breaking the silence. The anxiety in his voice was evident. "Almost there," replied the taxi driver. "But there is something you need to know before we arrive." Noah felt his stomach turn. "What?" The taxi driver sighed, as if he were about to reveal a secret that had been weighing on his conscience for a long time. "The fortress is not an ordinary place. The soldiers spoke of her as if she were a legend, but those who knew the truth knew it was much more than that. It's a place where war meets something supernatural. James believed there was something there that could change the course of the war, perhaps even the world. But when he entered, something changed in him. Something he didn't want to tell me, but I could see it in his eyes." Noah felt a chill run down his spine. "And you? What happened to you there?" "I never got in," said the taxi driver, his voice carrying a dark weight. "I stayed outside, waiting for James. But he never came back. I waited for hours, until I finally left. However, after that night, I started having dreams, visions, as if something from that fortress was trying to reach me, pull me back. That ring. It's the only thing that keeps me connected to James. And now, it looks like you're in on it too." Noah looked at the ring again, feeling a mix of fascination and terror. It was as if the object glowed with a light of its own, a constant reminder of what was at stake. But he knew he couldn't back down now. He had to know what happened to his brother, no matter the cost. Finally, the taxi stopped. They were in front of a large stone structure, almost hidden by the surrounding trees. The fortress was covered in moss and was partially lit by moonlight. It seemed like a place forgotten by time, where the very air was permeated with history and mystery. "This is it," said the taxi driver, turning off the engine. "This is where James went and never came back." Noah got out of the car, his heart beating wildly. He looked at the fortress with a mixture of reverence and fear. There was something sinister about the place, as if the very land around it was steeped in ancient secrets. "I'm going in," Noah said, his voice firm despite the fear he felt. "And I'm going to find out what happened to my brother." The taxi driver nodded, but didn't follow. "Careful, doctor. This place may not be what you expect." Noah took a step toward the fortress's entrance, his brother's ring now weighing heavily in his pocket. He was about to enter a world of shadows and secrets, where the line between the real and the supernatural became increasingly blurred. And so, with one last glance at the taxi driver, Noah crossed the threshold of the fortress, plunging into an abyss of mysteries that had long waited to be revealed. Upon crossing the fortress's entrance, Noah was immediately enveloped by darkness. The air was heavy and damp, with the smell of old stone and mold. He turned on the flashlight he had brought, projecting a beam of light that cut through the darkness in front of him. The interior of the fortress was a maze of narrow corridors and empty rooms, as if the place itself was trying to disorient him. The stone walls were adorned with ancient symbols and inscriptions that Noah couldn't decipher. Every step he took echoed in the depths of the fortress, as if he was being watched by something unseen. As he walked, Noah remembered the taxi driver's words about the place being more than just a fortress. Something inside had changed James, something he was about to discover. The tension increased with each step, and Noah felt the weight of the ring in his pocket like a constant presence, a reminder that he was connected to it all. Eventually, Noah found a large circular room, in the center of which was a stone altar. On the altar, an ancient box covered in strange symbols was illuminated by a dim light that seemed to emanate from the surrounding walls. Noah approached cautiously, his heart beating wildly. With shaking hands, he opened the box. Inside, he found a collection of documents, photographs, and what appeared to be a diary. The first few pages of the diary were covered in frantic, almost indecipherable scribbles, but Noah recognized his brother's handwriting. As he flipped through the pages, he began to understand the extent of what James had discovered. James described disturbing visions and a secret plan that involved the highest levels of the military, something that could change the course of the war in a catastrophic way. The fortress was more than just a storage place for secrets. It was a place where supernatural experiments were being conducted, using space-time itself as a tool. James had ventured to that place to expose the truth, but what he found was far more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. Noah read James' last words, a warning that echoed in the back of his mind. If I don't return, may someone find the truth and set it free. It was clear to Noah that his brother had sacrificed everything to protect the world from a threat no one knew about. Now, he had a responsibility to continue James' legacy, to expose the truth and ensure that his brother's sacrifice was not in vain. Closing the diary, Noah felt a determination rise within him. He knew his journey was just beginning, but he also knew he wasn't alone. The ring in his pocket glowed softly, as if it was reacting to his decision. With one last look at the room, Noah packed James' documents and diary into his backpack and prepared to leave the fortress. He had a mission now, one that would require courage and intelligence to complete, and he was willing to do whatever was necessary to honor his brother's memory and protect the world from the terrifying truth he had discovered. Upon leaving the fortress, Noah felt the relief of the cool night air, but also the weight of the discoveries he had just made. The taxi driver was waiting for him, his anxious gaze reflecting concern over what Noah had found. "And then?" asked the taxi driver, his voice full of expectation. Noah sighed, trying to organize his thoughts. "What I found in the fortress was more than I imagined. There were documents showing a military conspiracy involving experiments with supernatural forces. My brother, James, discovered something that could have changed the course of the war, and he entered that fortress to expose the truth. But he never came back." The taxi driver looked at the ground, as if he was pondering Noah's words. "So what are you going to do now?" "I need to take this information to the authorities," Noah replied, his voice firm. "We can't let all this remain hidden. People need to know the truth." Noah and the taxi driver returned to town, and Noah immediately sought help from an investigative journalist known for his integrity. The journalist, named Emily Parker, listened intently as Noah explained the situation. After reviewing the documents and diary, Emily agreed to help expose the conspiracy. "We need to be careful," Emily said. "These documents are explosive. If the information gets out, those involved will try to silence anyone who is out in front." Together, Noah, Emily, and the taxi driver prepared a plan to get the story out to the public. As they worked, tension in the city increased. Rumors about Noah's discovery began to spread, and the government began moving to contain the crisis. With Emily's help, Noah organized a press conference to reveal the findings to the world. On the appointed day, the auditorium was full of reporters and cameras, all eager to hear what Noah had to say. "What I'm going to share with you is not just a story about a missing soldier," Noah began, his voice echoing throughout the room. "It is a revelation of a conspiracy that involved experiments with forces beyond human understanding, and my brother's sacrifice was just one part of it." As Noah presented the evidence, including documents and excerpts from James' diary, the atmosphere in the room became increasingly tense. The revelations came as a shock to everyone, and the authorities, who were present, tried to minimize the impact. "Of course, these allegations are serious," said a government spokesperson, "but we need to investigate further before taking any action." Noah and Emily were prepared for this reaction. They had planned a series of reports and interviews to ensure the story was widely reported. But as the pressure mounted, they also began to face threats and attempts to silence them. One night, Noah received an anonymous message, a warning that he and his allies were in danger. Sensing the imminent threat, he and Emily decided to tighten security and continue the work of exposing the truth. The scandal spread quickly, and public pressure forced the government to carry out a formal investigation. As the truth unfolded, it was discovered that the fortress's experiments had catastrophic results, and the conspiracy involved important figures who attempted to manipulate and cover up the truth. Noah, despite the threats and growing tension, remained steadfast in his mission. With Emily's support and the courage of the taxi driver, who turned out to be a crucial informant, they helped ensure those responsible were brought to justice. In the end, the fortress was dismantled, and the truth about the experiments was revealed to the world. Noah found some solace in the idea that despite the personal cost, James's sacrifice and the hard work he had done had not been in vain. At a ceremony honoring those who lost their lives, Noah gave a speech about his brother's legacy and the importance of truth. He spoke about courage, sacrifice, and the need to face the shadows to bring what is right to light. As he watched the sun set again over the coastal city, Noah felt a weight being lifted from his shoulders. He knew that his brother's journey had made a significant difference, and that the truth, even when terrifying, would always find a way to shine. With James' ring now kept in a place of honor, Noah finally found some peace, knowing that he had fulfilled his brother's mission and helped shine a light on the truth that had been buried in the shadows.